Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey, vinyl community and anyone else that's watching, thanks for tuning in to use some phrases by other VC members. There's been a thread about a reverse thread on albums or artists that people like but aren't typically shown on in the vinyl community. I had done a video earlier on this. I just watched one this morning of James Griffith, and he'd mentioned a couple of artists, and so I figured I'd pick up on that and help rectify the situation. Um, so I picked two of the people that he mentioned, and then I threw in a bonus because it was kind of overlapped. These are all early 60s artists. So maybe I'd ignored these because the farther back in time you go with the albums, then the smaller the audience it seems to be. People aren't more people are interested in the 70s or 80s than 50s or 60s, and the audience tends to disappear as everyone ages. But to start with this, Roy Orbison was one of the people mentioned. So this is the first album I have by Roy, 1960. Roy Orbison Sings Lonely and Blue. So this has the big hit Only the Lonely on it. This is on the Monument label. There's Monument. And he recorded with Monument for roughly from 60 to 64. And then he moved over to MGM. And I don't have the next one. Crying, I think is the name of it. But then 1963, In Dreams. This has Blue Bayou on it, which Linda Ronstadt covered 10 years or 15 years later. And then these, early Orbison, so this is more of rockabilly or early rock stuff. He had done something with Sun at some point early in his career, so early Orbison. The Great Pretender, Bye Bye Love by the Bryants. That Everly Brothers did a version. Orbisongs, still on Monument. This is sort of a covers album. Oh Pretty Woman, which was his. Well, I take it back. These Don Gibson. So there's one cover. But I guess most of the rest of them are songs that he did. So Orbisongs. This might be 1964. And Soundtrack, The Fastest Guitar Alive. Roy Orbison performing these. I think this is 1965 on MGM. So the MGM label, the Lion. And I think he did 11 albums for MGM. 65 to 73 roughly. So there's only one Roy Orbison. The Orbison Way. These are all these albums are supposed to be in chronological order. or at least order they were released in. Orbison Sings, I think this is released in '72. And that one might be out of order. Classic Roy Orbison. Some tape residue around it, but still on MGM. Roy Orbison Sings Don Gibson. We heard him cover a Don Gibson song when he was with Monument. I'd be a legend in time. So, Cry Softly, Lonely One, MGM. And then he bounced around some after that. Everyone may have been more familiar with him when he was with the Traveling Wilburys. Regeneration. This is mid-'70s. Monument, different label. Laminar Flow. Looks like Asylum. Elektra Asylum. Again, late '70s, mid to late '70s, and then he did this one. This was a TV concert, Roy Orbison and Friends, 1987. This is the BMG Music Club issue. I don't know if you can see that, but Bruce Springsteen, Tom Waits, T-Bone Burnett, and Elvis Costello, some of the Friends. And then last one I have, Mystery Girl, 1989. Record Club issue on Virgin. You Got It was one of the singles off this album. So then we move on to the other artist that was James mentioned, Del Shannon. So I've got a couple of those. So here's the first one I have. I think this is 62 or 63 on Big Top. Little Town Flirt. This has Runaround Sue on it. Runaway, Hats Off to Larry. So strong hit single album. There's the Big Top label. And then the next two, I don't have the vinyl. I've got this reissue on BGO. These are 64, I think. Runaway and Hats Off to Larry are the two albums. A couple of bonus tracks, which are just other versions of the hit singles. And then on Amy Records, Handyman. I think this is around 64. There's the Amy label. Memphis, Ruby Baby, World Without Love, I Ran the Whole Way Home, Twist and Shout, Handyman. Still on Amy, Del Williams sings Del Shannon sings Hank Williams. So there's a version of Your Cheatin' Heart, Cowliga, I Can't Help It, Honky Tonk Blues. So, you know, country album. And I think the last one I've got on Amy, 1,661 seconds with Del Shannon. Mid-60s, Stranger in Town, Needles and Pins, Do You Want to Dance? Just like the Ramones. And then 66 maybe, he put out two sort of cover albums. This Is My Bag and Total Commitment. This is the reissue on BGO. So these are very good covers of various songs from the mid-60s. He does two Raiders songs on one of the albums, Kicks, and I can't see the other one at the moment, but there were two on here. Lightning Strikes, a Lou Christie song. The Cheater, Oh Pretty Woman, sounds like Roy Orbison there. Under My Thumb, The Stones. Summer in the City, Loving Spoonful, Pied Piper, Sunny. So these are good covers. And then in 1968, so that was 66, I think I said. 1968, he did his sort of psychedelic album, The Farther Adventures of Charles Westover, which I think was his actual name rather than Del Shannon. So here's the BGO reissue with 8 bonus tracks on it. And then a few more albums, United Artists, mid-70s, early 70s, Live in England. Del Shannon also went on to play with the Traveling Wilburys for a little bit before he passed away. Does his hits on here, Runaway, Hats Off to Larry, Keep Searching, Little Town Flirt, Handyman, others. And then the last one I've got, Drop Down and Get Me on Elektra. I won't show the Elektra label. And then the last artist I just threw in because he overlapped with those two, B.J. Thomas. So he was mostly on Scepter Records, and like from 66 to 70, so I think this is 1966. I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, that was his big single off this album. And then he did some other standards, It's Not Unusual, Midnight Hour, Oh Mama, it's a real good one on here. So the Scepter label. Another one on Scepter, On My Way, which has the two hits, Eyes of a New York Woman and Hooked on a Feeling. Hooked on a Feeling has been redone by people. There's a popular disco version that was done in the, whenever that was, 80s. Everybody's Out of Town. Everybody's Talking, Bridge Over Troubled Waters. I think he did Raindrops Keep Falling on His Head, but for you saw that in a Paul Newman, Robert Redford movie. And then the last one, I think this is 1970, BJ. Still on Scepter. And then he reprises some of his songs. Hooked on a Feeling, Eyes of a New York City Woman, Suspicious Minds. Elvis Presley did that one. I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. Little Green Apples. That was O.C. Smith. So that was my shout out to those artists that are, some people feel neglected. I haven't neglected them, so I guess that's true. So thanks everybody for watching, and see you next time.